So, welcome back, everybody. This is Night Flight, and today I have a new guest. It is Victoria Rader, and her website is, as you can see behind her, You Too Shine. And I'm very happy to have this conversation with her, and I think we will touch on a lot of interesting things. So, Victoria, just to get to know you a little bit, how did you embark on that journey that you founded You Too Shine?
It's like the year was 2013. In 2013, on paper and in productivity, I was an incredibly successful real estate agent. As a matter of fact, it was the best year in profitability for me, and that was the forefront. In the background, what was happening is that because I was doing so well, the the government decided to put me through an audit. And so they started auditing every single transaction going years back. That was January of that year. And then in February of that year, I got a phone call that my aunt, I live in the US, I'm originally from Ukraine, my aunt was in Moldova, suddenly dies of a heart attack. And I find myself and my mom with all the paper trail behind me on the plane to the funeral. In complete shock, she was completely healthy, died of a heart attack. And little did I know that that was the first of the 11 deaths of 2013, where almost clockwise, once a month, a very close family member or a very dear friend was taken away. And halfway through the year, I found myself at the precipice of complete standoff between darkness and light and life and death and what it meant when my cousin, who I grew up with as a brother, drowned. We were only 2 years apart. We grew up at grandma's house together, and he drowned. And as I sat in the chair, and my body in complete shock from grief, not having time to process itself, one hit after the other, I was sitting in the armchair and pleading with the divine for one chance of respite, for just take a breath. Because at that point, I'm a businesswoman, but I'm also a homeschooling mom. I've got to be functioning for my kids. And I fell drowning. He drowned, and I fell drowning. And I closed my eyes, and all of a sudden, I've experienced what his soul experienced, exiting the physical matter and the sacredness of rebirth into high reality. And I felt such infinite light and joy that I could not force myself to grieve over the loss afterward. It was the most surreal understanding of death as the beginning of a radiant life. And so, with upcoming deaths, with the death of my dear friend that came a couple months after, I had a very different understanding and framing. And so I was not surprised when in November of 2013, I woke up with a very clear knowing it was time to walk away from real estate and to start my company, You to Shine, as a way to bring the fulfillment and the preciousness of life as the driving force behind any and all accomplishment and extension. And that is how You to Shine was born. I had 28 million pending in real estate transactions when I came to my broker and I said, I'm done. I don't even want a referral fee. And I went back to financial survival from a place of spiritual significance. So that is how You to Shine was born, as a reminder of infinite worth that we need to reclaim, to remember, and then to live from.
Yeah, that was certainly a very horrific year for you until that particular moment when obviously your point of view shifted about death. Um, and what is You to Shine about? What I have seen, you have built an entire team.
Yes.
It's not just you. And if I remember correctly, then you also counsel people, right?
So what the You to Shine has become is it became a pioneer in quantum personal development. We have coined the term quantum personal development because, yes, we're born to grow and to expand. And I've been a personal development fanatic, because I could see that your life grows as reflection of your growth. But there felt to be a lack, right? And so I finally simplified that in personal development, it's mind over matter. Do I believe it? Of course. As a man thinketh, so is he, the good old proverb that became the book and so forth. However, what I've also learned is that we've grown a lot of self-absorbed narcissists and that more people have sacrificed their family life and love because immediately they were like, well, he toxic, she toxic, they toxic, I develop. And it's like something was missing. And what I found to be missing is that it is mind over matter. But to develop in an aligned way, it's got to be love over mind, over matter. And I've learned that it is the love of power that derailed humanity, and that we've come to actually discover the power of love. So You to Shine became a platform through books, journals, programs, coaches, in any possible way to support both individuals and organizations on discovering their significance through working with energy of love, and then grow from that place of discovery, not towards it, but from it. So it palpably shifted the direction of growth from here to the point of enlightenment to I remember I am an enlightened human being, and now I'm expanding my awareness to see that. So that's the movement and the team. So we have an incredible team of healers, coaches, trainers, and mentors that support, humanity in that feeble endeavor of ours.
Hmm. Hmm. Um, Working with people, what have you found was the main obstacle? Is there something that you can pinpoint where people, basically sabotage themselves?
Yes. We're having this conversation beautifully. I just got back from doing a TEDx talk that's called Three Laws to Quantum Leap Your Worth. And so the answer is it's worth. It's a person's awareness and relationship with their infinite worth is a determiner of their life's fulfillment or the sabotage of that fulfillment. And so that answer that I found and that the team through over 15,000 sessions have proven to be true is that the degree to which a person remembers they're worthy is the degree to which they will be living a life deserving of them being worthy. And the degree to which they feel unworthy is the degree to which they'll sabotage a deserving life so that it reflects back to them that they are unworthy of having it all. And so human worth would be the answer of that one um, undeniable presence.
Mm. So now somebody might say, Um, I understand where you are coming from, but we also have to acknowledge that sometimes you live in an area where there is structural poverty. And no matter how much you think you are worth, um, it's very hard to get out of that.
Fascinating that you use that as an example because it's one of the laws that I share is the law prism, and it's the third law. And the prism reflects the worth of other human beings, and it came from my exchange in India over 2 decades ago, I actually was on a trip to India with my husband. He was there for his business trip, actually. I was accompanying him. And I was taken to a little parish. I believe it was probably Catholic charity school parish that was there for children from the slums. And so what happened is during the day, the bus collected kids from the slums and that were putting themselves through stealing or selling scraps just to kind of survive. And then they were brought into this space. They were giving like yellow t-shirts for younger kids, orange t-shirts for older kids, and I was sitting on the bench behind this little boy. He was about 8 years old or so. So he raised his hand, as if to run to the bathroom. Now I got to translate bathroom with the complete absence of plumbing meant out in the bushes. So he ran outside, but he came back much faster. And he came back much faster, and all of a sudden his hand got spread over my lap. And he opened his hand, and out came a rosebud. I mean, so much so that, I mean, it's on me at all times. I don't know whether it's you do video podcast or audio podcast, but I mean, here it
Video.
is.
Mm.
Here it is. I mean, it's
Mhm.
it's on me. And and I sat there flabbergasted by generosity of the spirit, and I realized that my determination to see him less than and humanity's addiction to superiority and compare everything in lack is what keeps him in that poverty.
Mhm.
That the second I recognize his spirit's worth as an equal, and that he doesn't need pitying from me, but that he needs respect and honor and education. He doesn't need saving, he needs celebrating. When I understood that, that became a fuel for everything I do. And so I grew up in similar poverty in the village in the summer without an indoor plumbing. I was joyful, I was happy, and I was fulfilled until somebody else insisted that I was lacking. I had no programs for lack. We live in such a material saturation that we developed an ego that tells us we've got to pity those that are less than. Says who? And so it is just a reverse engineered understanding that once I know, and I believe that with every fiber of my being, that his spirit chose that to teach me lesson of humility and not the other way around. The second I step down from my high and mighty pedestal and become a student of a spiritual master who says, I can be happy no matter what. Can you? Or are you so attached to the leather seats in your car that you lost the joy of life? When I see the master for what he is, the spiritual equality will allow for the financial equality to flow. And so we, as an advanced society, through our spiritual blindness, are keeping the contract to a much greater degree than those great spiritual teachers whose souls chose the physical incarnation into poverty. And so their poverty is physical, ours is spiritual. I think ours is more scary, if you ask me.
Mhm. So I get what you're saying. And I'm not going to refute it or anything. At the same time, I find it sad that
Yes.
there are people in 2026 who still do not have access to running water in their houses, electricity, and what have you. I mean, that is not like, living like a king. These are, to me, very basic things. And I find it heartbreaking that not everybody has it. And I wonder why, because at the same time there is so much money available for stupid things. Yeah, even in those countries, what the government does with the money. So How do we reconcile this?
One pain to purpose transition at a time. So,
Hmm.
like you, clean water and childhood are my pains. So every month, every single month, I'm donating to well building and child education. Every single month, my pain is turned into purpose. Over the last 30 years, my meager donations compared to the governments that I don't care about, it's their journey, has built over 112 wells. I can look you in the eyes, Judith, and say, there are 112 wells that I have built through my simple contribution. And so the second you feel the pain as a human being, realize it's your purpose that's calling. And then do not tell yourself that there's got to be $1,000 going to it. Can you do a dollar? Start with a dollar. Most people are blinded by their pain because they think to resolve it, we need to resolve it all. Not at all. At $30 a month, in 20 years, you can build 111 wells. Are you doing it now? Most people are not. So feel your pain, turn it into purpose. If we do it on an individual level, we don't need to worry about the corrupt government. Because if we give enough water to people and enough education to children, they will grow up and they'll shake off their corrupt governments. And so we're not powerless. We can vote with $1 at a time. It doesn't matter how much, it just matters that we do it. And that's what I see. It's the gap where people feel since I can't do it all, since there's huge problem, then I'm not doing anything. But this very moment, I am an ambassador for Kids of Ukraine also. We started this amazing vision for them because in Ukraine, $21 a month gets a kid out of a war zone, gets them cleaned up, educated from trauma to triumph. $21 a month. So I'll hear people, those poor kids in Ukraine, I'll say, do you have $21? Because don't say those poor kids, you're bringing them down. Say, I'm supporting a kid. And so they've started one adult, one child. There's so many ways. We're so powerful as human beings. So when you hear yourself talking about pain, immediately put profit minimal into purpose. If everybody does it, if we stop every time we say a word, I have a degree in quantum mechanics, right? Have a doctorate. Every word is a frequency of a quantum signature that impacts reality. Every time I say negative description of reality, I am keeping it, I'm co-creating it. But when I find a solution and then I say I'm contributing to educating kids in Ukraine and restoring their freedom, I'm not denying the circumstance. I'm just not co-creating it anymore. I'm creating a purposeful replacement. We are much more powerful human beings. First, we shift the signature of solution, and then we support it $1 at a time, €1 at a time, £1 at a time. We've got to get rid of a lie that it takes a lot of money. No, it takes a lot of people with with $1, £1 at a time. So it takes us. And that's why our governments are so corrupt. So we reclaim our power as humanity to shake them as that last claw. So,
Mm. Um, what I find so interesting about this method is, I mean, there are probably millions of people out there who read The Secret and did endless affirmations, and the Mercedes never manifested in front of the door. So, but you have a complete different
yeah.
approach, right?
Yep, absolutely. I can tell you, this is so beautiful and such a deep, thoughtful question, Judith, that I have chills. When I have a chills, I know that this particular framework you just created will benefit your audience to such a great degree. And I want to say something sacred is that no answer can flow outside of the boundary of a question. So the question creates the answer. So I want to tell you that and then give an answer. So what happens in manifestation is that our higher self is very aware whether we're lying to ourselves and trying to manifest what we make ourselves to want versus what we really want. And every one of us actually has exactly what we want. The first realization is so difficult. Why? Because many of us want to be comfortable with being uncomfortable because it gives us an excuse to complain about our life. And that's what we secretly want. It's a difficult thing to see yourself in the mirror and say, that's okay. This is what I want. But what is underneath it? What do I want even more than that? And what I mean is that I'm going to give people 5 questions. Going to questions create reality. First, write down what is it that I want? And for 3 minutes, write everything that you want without stopping back. For example, if you're a smoker and you say, I want to quit smoking, I say, probably not. You probably want to keep smoking without it having effect on your health. That's what you really want. Wouldn't that be nice if we were honest with what we want? Not everything we want we can have. So, as a smoker, you don't want to quit. You want to smoke and for it to not affect your health. That is the truth. So then you say, do I want the health more than I want smoking? And not everybody will want that. So the first question is, what do I really want? As unrealistic as it can be, you keep writing everything. You're meeting yourself without lying to yourself. I want to eat 10 pounds of chocolate without gaining weight. I don't care that it's unrealistic. I'm going to be honest with what I want. And you're going to just cry through it for the first time, admitting to yourself what you want. Now, if you're angry at somebody, you're gonna say, yeah, I know I shouldn't be wishing bad upon the people, but I really want for them to feel what they've done to me. It's honesty. It's not wishing. It's not creation. It's being honest with what I want. But then you're gonna do the next step. You're gonna say, okay, but what do I want the most? And then you're gonna write what you want the most. It might come from the list before, but most likely it was purging, or it might not. But you're gonna write what I want the most. Do not skip because our subconscious is layered. Third question, very powerful. What outcomes do I want? Because you see, what I found is that the only reason we want things is because we want certain outcome. When somebody tells me, to your example, I want a new Mercedes, I'll say, to what outcome? Do you want to be noticed? Do you want to be respected? Do you want to be honored? Do you just want to be comfortable? Why would a person want a new Mercedes? Do you feel so irrelevant that that's the only way to be relevant? What is the outcome that you want? The outcome is the feeling we think we will have if what we think we want most will be ours. And then the last question before the action, you say, what outcome do I want the most? So now you're going to see what is the feeling your soul really wants that you've convoluted with all of these complex manifestations outside. And once you know that feeling, then every day you're going to do 2 things. Going to bed, you're going to imagine what it would be like if you felt that way already. What would life be? For example, your beautiful cat, who is such an incredible example of what we're doing here right now, right? Sacred space, comfort, protection, like your soul is telling me. I want to be in peace. I
Mhm.
want to have deep, unshakable peace. And so you are expanding that. So now, as you fall asleep, you're going to be like, what would peace look like to me? And you see yourself laying by the ocean. You see yourself cuddling your beautiful cat. In my case, currently 4 dogs. And then when you wake up in the morning, you're going to say, every decision you make, is it supporting peace or robbing it? And you live from the place of that peace. And you're not attached to manifesting a condo, a car. They follow in the right order because you're living from manifesting your soul's deepest desire. So, does it require work a little bit? One afternoon of asking questions and then a discipline of living it. But it's irreplaceable. It is an irreplaceable, genuine, non-sabotaged way to manifest your reality, from truth, not from, oh, I want to have a house in Hawaii. Why? Do you know how high the taxes are there? You know? Do you have high taxes? I mean, is that what you also?
Yeah, I personally never wanted a Mercedes. I mean, I did have cars, but yeah, and I never had this very strong attachment to it. It was always a means from going from A to B, and that's basically it.
Well, and see, because as I said, your energy is so centered on the peace as the deepest value. It just resonates. But let's say we have somebody whose deepest value is thrill at this point in their life. Now, if that is their deepest value, then having a Ferrari is aligned with the deepest value. That will come to them if they honor it, right? If they honor it. But what happens is people don't know it, and not knowing it, they are running on void. And then they think as soon as I get something, I will have it. And then they have it, and then they don't. And they say, oh, probably because I need to have more of it. And then all of a sudden, there's just a lot of accumulation with zero meaning. And the soul really collapses under that. So.
Mm. You mentioned that you have a PhD. So would you say that in quantum physics, that the higher self is a reality? Would they recognize that, or would that be hooey to them?
I think I did this amazing exercise. Our conscious mind needs to see proof. We're just wired that way.
Hmm.
It's just who we are. And so I have this little energy stick that anybody can buy anywhere in the world on Amazon. It's like 12 or $13. You just put kids energy stick. And what it is that it's this plastic stick with two metal sensors on the side, and it has little light and sound capacity inside. And if you hold it by one hand, nothing happens. The second you hold it by two sensors, it starts lighting up and making noise. The first time you do it, it's freaky because we are an electromagnetic battery. We are a human battery. When I say it, it's like whatever. But if you do it, your mind sees it and it codes, whoa, what happened? What's even more fascinating, I will often, when I speak to an audience of kids, I'll bring the kids to stage. I'll put 10 kids in a circle. They're all holding hands. And as they're holding hands, I will put a stick between two of them. And if everybody's holding hands, the energy is flowing through everybody and the stick lights up and makes noise. But if any one of those 10 kids lets go of their hands, no matter where they are, the circuit is broken and the stick stops making noise. So once your brain sees that, it understands that you're an electromagnetic field. Once you understand you're an electromagnetic field, your conscious mind gives you permission for curiosity to understand how the field works. We're all a part of quantum field. It is the purest reality there is the reality that exists before and underneath any and all other science. Any and all other science that is material is a reflection of the laws that are quantum. And so 20 years ago, when I was speaking of that, that was complete woo. Now, with all the advances of quantum mechanics and little silly toys like that, I think it is time that we're crossing the gap into understanding. We've got to know quantum laws to free ourselves at a quantum level. And I just am joyful. You can see this brings me infinite joy to just bring that level of, I call it quantum freedom to people.
Mm. What would be a quantum law? Could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so the very first law is the law of awareness.
Hmm.
Okay, so it is really fascinating with the law of awareness. To simplify it is that notice what you notice and how you notice, because what and how you notice is what you create more of, period. They've had so many studies when they put people in the same room with different things, and people notice very different things in the room, and they don't see other things. One example that I do, I will come into the group and I will say, okay, guys, look around and count everything that's red around you. You have 10 seconds or 20 seconds. And people will count it up. And then I'll say, close your eyes. How many green things did you see? People are shocked. Were there green things? Because we are wired to only notice what our subconscious wiring is filtering for us. Because the amount of information subconscious takes in is into billions of bits. But conscious struggles with hundreds, 128 at a time. And so we continually filter. And so the first thing any person can do is observe themselves to see what they notice on the path of their manifestation or creation. For example, let's say we have a client who comes to one of our coaches and says, I want to attract a soulmate. And I will say, okay, tell me about every friend in your life and their romantic relationship. And I'm paying attention to what they notice. Because if they say, wow, did you know this friend got cheated on? And, this is unfair. What they're telling me is their subconscious quantum codes. Romantic relationship is unfair. It is dangerous. It is full of betrayal. And so until we notice ourselves, how we notice things, we think that creating is wishful thinking or roll your eyes back in your head, sneeze 3 times and it happens. No, it doesn't. It is so we first become aware of what and how we're aware. I always say being human, it is not what you feel that is a dominant vibration. It is how you feel about what you feel. For example, I can be resentful of my friend. Doesn't mean I create a life of resentment. If I feel resentful of myself resenting my friend, then I create the life of resentment. But if I love myself to give me just enough space for that horrible judgment, then I can actually forgive my friend and love them as well. So notice what you notice, because what and how you notice is what and how you create. What is it that you want in your life? First, observe how you think about it. And so as you shift how you think and what you think, only then you're ready to start creating it. And that's just the law of awareness. And it's the simplest way of quantum awareness, because on the quantum field, the electron, the particle, is only a particle once we notice. Until then, it's a frequency of infinite possibility. So think of life around you as infinite possibilities, and the way you're noticing it is what materializes it. So it's a beautiful self-compassionate process of starting noticing how and what we're noticing. And then responsibility of, oh wow, I am keeping this reality alive because I'm co-creating it through the way I see it. So yeah, gorgeous journey.
And and how many laws are there? 10.
The honest answer would be there are probably infinite laws because the expansion is infinite. There are basic laws, there are laws that we've discovered that we use in our programs, but I think every law has subcategories. But to simplify it is there are only three basic laws from which all the others go. So the very first one is energy is. It can neither be, second one, because energy is, it can neither be created nor destroyed. Third one is, because it can be neither created nor destroyed, it is continually transformed, transmuted, and transliterated. That is the foundation of all quantum laws because all the others answer a question. How is it transmuted, translated, and transformed, right? And what to do with them. But those are the three basic laws. Energy is. You can't create it, you can't destroy it. It just is. It is constantly changed. It changes form, it changes frequency, it changes application. And each law then in turn, I'm going to ground it to practical application for people right now. because there's so much misinformation. You've heard the law of affirmation. If you want to go, the law of attraction, if you want to puke over it, go do it. It's fine. Go puke over the law of attraction because it's misrepresented. And what do I mean by that? You've heard the people said that in law of attraction, you attract similar frequency. Is that true? Yes. You're not aware of what your frequency is very often, right? But the law of attraction is a 50% law of the law of magnetism. The law of magnetism states, as you attract, so you repel. So, very often, people are not attracting in their life because they don't know how to welcome rejection or how to repel things in their life. They're trying to hold on to be liked and loved by everyone. They're trying to hold on the old habits while attracting new life. It is against the law of magnetism. That is why, in one sentence, why the law of attraction doesn't work. You've got to be able to celebrate with the same joy when you're rejected and repelled as when you're accepted and celebrated, understanding that those are the balanced laws. So only when you're fired unfairly is the door open for a new opportunity of attracting the job you've been attracting. Only once the best friend betrayed you and stabbed you in the back are you capable to have a friend that will support, sustain, and expand you. We are so buffered in denial and fear of rejection that we prevent the attraction part from happening. But if daily we say, what am I to let go of today to create the new expansion that is coming, then pain is minimized. But we're continually, if we're attracting and creating, to be seeing what we need to let go. So that's just one example of how people yank part of the concept and then build false systems around it without explaining the full quantum law.
Mm. So, my next question is a little bit convoluted, but I give it a shot. Um, I understand what you mean when you concentrate on a particular thing, you create more of it. Yeah. Um, we also here in Germany, for instance, we have a saying that goes like, if you fall asleep in a democracy, you will wake up in a dictatorship. Yeah. Which means um, there is a reason why we should pay attention to what is going on around us. Now, how do we reconcile that we do not, with concentrating only on, and I mean, here in Germany, the attack on free speech, for instance, is massive.
Mhm.
It's a fact, and it's amazing who gets raided at 6 in the morning because some politician felt insulted. Um, so how do we walk that line that on the one hand, we are not completely oblivious to what is going on around us, and on the other hand, not creating more of it? You know what I mean?
I know what you mean so clearly and so beautifully. I think what happens, there are two parts to it. The first one you're describing is the concept of drifting,
Hmm.
because it's not that, you see, if we're very actively, using your example, create free speech, if we're active with it 24/7, we never have to then focus on the opposite. But when we take it for granted, we drift. What lulls humanity is taking things for granted instead of practicing in gratitude. When we start taking for granted, we're drifting, and the only way to shake us back into awareness is the ugly opposite. It serves its purpose. I mean, off the record, you and I were talking about what is happening globally just
Yeah.
prior to it, and I've commented is that of course it is. Why? We drifted. We drifted as humanity into the lull of taking the blessing of life for granted. We forgot the preciousness of life and the freedom of every breath, every one of us to a different degree. And so, what is going to happen when you drift this far away? You're going to experience a waterfall. I mean, and so we're crashing and falling. And when you're crashing and falling halfway, it is very painful, right? I say in the middle of surgery, it feels like murder. It feels like murder right now. And this probably is the only way for us to be awakened. So, step number one is actively create. If you're not creating, you're drifting. If you're not drifting, you're going to see the other side, and then you will have to push away from it. Or, unfortunately, surrender and fall to it, right? That's a free agency. Number one concept. Number one concept, uh, parallel to drift, is what is enlightenment. People Enlightenment is not spiritual bypass and bubble of there is nothing bad, everything is good. I mean, I'm sorry, that is not enlightenment. That is like, that's delusion. We're not. And so, and the delusion, by the way, does lead to drifting. So I want to practically, let's say you walk into the room and the room is dark. You're going to flip the light on. The brighter the light, the more you see everything that is out of order. in a little in the with little light, you don't see how dirty the room is. So the brighter the light, the more you see. And so then the step is, as I see it all, where is a path through? So that is how you go from, without denying the circumstance, you've acknowledged it's a cluttered room. But then you go to the right next question, because it is the question, as I've mentioned, that creates the sacred pathway for creation. It is not the acknowledgement of what is, but the properly asked question. So you ask, what is the most efficient path through all of this? And now you're creating the path. So going back to your question, using the example that you've given, when you as an aware, non-drifting German citizen wake up and you can ask, there's power in this so much. What are the top three things I can do today to guarantee freedom of speech in Germany? Whoa. Yes, you as one person can do that. This podcast is number one. Okay, you're off the hook. You can now go to the two. Imagine if you train your brain asking that question every single day, because that is what you're creating. Instead of saying, it's unjust what they're doing. Of course they are. That's the clutter in the room. We're not dismissing it. So this is how we use the discomfort and the darkness as the background, which will always be there because people have free agency and they will always choose light or dark 24/7. And being of light, who we are, we say, great, I see it. What is the path? And what is my practical, grounded steps on this path today? Goes back to wells, to children, to all of those came as a result. For somebody who wants to take it the next step to what I call quantum alignment and live a very aligned life, it's a gorgeous thing. You first say, what is my theme for the year? You ponder because you have an intuitive answer in you. Then you say, what is my theme for the months to live from this theme in the year? You receive that theme. And then every day you ask this question and you sit until you have an answer and then you apply. And the question is, what is one action to take, or one decision to make, or one question to ask for me to live from my theme of the months? That's only for somebody who's really seeking the life of complete alignment and living the purpose for which they've come. You're detached from pretty much everything else. You're living purposefully what your soul came to live. So,
Mm. When we talked before we started recording, what is going on around the world, I cannot prove it in that thing, in that sense, but here's what I'm getting. Um, I think we shift into a time where humanity will break free from a lot of nonsense. Um, and sometimes I have the impression that you know, let's say the people behind the curtain know that as well, of what is coming, and they are intensifying their attempts to cling to their power and to bend everything into their vision. You know what I mean?
100%, right? This is why we say it's darkest before dawn. Where does that come from? Yeah, it is darkest before dawn. And then another analogy we've used chatting is that I love using it is that everybody wants rebirth. Let's revisit what it looks like. First, you're in agony, then you're screaming, then there is blood, then there is water, and then there's, so it's just it is inevitable because we've already made a choice. We're breaking free. We have. Humanity has made the choice. And so I am so with you, but it doesn't mean that it is effortless, that it is smooth, and that there isn't a deniability of those hungry for power to be withstanding the power of life and the power of love. They're going to lose, period.
Yeah. But there are moments when it doesn't look like that. You know what I mean? And those moments are very intense at the moment, I have to say. And so then on the way, someone can get the feeling, how long do we have to wait?
Absolutely. It's human. Listen, Judith, this is what I say, and I say it with truth. Every product we've ever created was because we needed help and there wasn't one. So I'm going to do this. One of the products we have, I'm going to use for us today. It's actually Empower Me app. And what I was going through, the war in Ukraine started. I'm Ukrainian who lives in America. And I found myself in such depth of grief all over and afraid when the phone rang, because when the phone would ring, I would be wondering who now? Like what happened now? Like what is so I've created this Empower Dash Me app, and one of the intuitive subsets in it is called My Grief. So it's for anybody who, because grief has 99 aspects. Grief is the loss of what could have been. So we are grieving much more than we realize. Because every time you want something to be a certain way and it's not, it's a feeling of loss. And the feeling of loss always codes your body, which is your quantum field. Your immediate quantum field is your body at grief. And while grieving, there isn't a momentum or a burning desire to move forward. So what you're describing is the moments of deep apathy and grief. So we found that there are 99 aspects, known aspects of grief. So this app it tunes in intuitively to your state. So I'm gonna shake the phone and ask for the benefits of our audience, the message, and I'm gonna read that, and hopefully somebody receives an immediate release. And oh wow, no, you can't make it up. Look at what came up. Look what came up on our intuitive app. No freaking way. Okay, I'm sorry. I mean, I knew it was intuitive. Now, like, okay, so this is what popped up. Out of 99 aspects, what came up is feeling like the whole world is falling apart. Wow. So first you validate. It's important to not lie to yourself, right? You validate my whole world is falling apart. Second, you visualize. So if you're listening, if you're with me here now, with your eyes closed, imagine as if the 1,000 pieces of your life puzzle lay all over the floor in front of you. Imagine as if multiple angels come and place all the pieces where they belong, creating a new picture of your world. Notice, notice now as the puzzle is put together, the borders of the puzzle pieces disappear, and there is a fluid, gentle movement through the puzzle. Now, affirm with your hand on your heart, my world is now being rebuilt through divine help. I am hopeful. I am me. That's what pulls me through. Not the absence or denial of the darkness, but daily tools and discipline to keep going. So that's actually one of my first times that it ever popped up. Even as I was reading, I saw that puzzle. I saw that puzzle. That's our power as human beings to reclaim that quantum field and to continue creating, not denying pain, turning it into purpose.
Victoria, you have to explain to me how that works with shaking the phone.
So, because the field is responding to everything,
Hmm.
when we set an intention in creating the app, everything, remember we said the first law, everything is energy. So, the intention of the app was to be tuning into a person's energy and bringing to the surface. And so while it is quote unquote random, the way it is coded to the quantum field of a person. And there are different subcategories of the app. The app is probably one of our most, for I don't know what it is, maybe $39 or something. It's not money, right? It's just rewiring quantum reality. Another subset there. May I share another one? Because we talked about money. Because we
Hmm.
talked about money. What happened in 2022, I had this pause in life where I had to cancel everything for a whole month. I was guided to cancel everything for a whole month. And money and I have a very difficult relationship. I don't think about it. I'm so trained to do without that sometimes when I have a lot, I just insist on giving it out, and that's not a healthy pattern. So I wanted to write a book on love because I love love, life originating, vibrant emotion. And God, great overall designer, right? The spirit said, do you love yourself enough to heal your relationship with money? I was like, what? Let me tap it out. So within a month, I sat down and I wrote a book that became a bestseller in 49 countries that was called Prosper Me. But the way that book was written was summarizing the 35 laws of money that I've created for the app to remind me to not be wasteful with it because it's energy. And so there are 35 laws of money. The app was created before the book and before all the programs that our coaches run globally. So I'm going to tune in to which law of money our audience needs today in a material way, right? And so we can see what pops up for us. See, the law of spending. Can't make it up, did I not? You can't make it up. So, the law of spending says live on what you earn. Practice. Analyze your spending for the last few months and see where you can make adjustments to make sure you no longer depend on credit. Like there's freedom to these simple laws. And here is activation. I now understand, practice, and live the law of spending. I spend wisely and well within my income. I'm generous with my charitable contributions and consistent with my savings. I'm excited about my investments. Money is easy. I got this. I am me. So, from money to grief to spirituality, once again, this was created because Miss here was spending incorrectly, and I stand corrected by my own product.
So, would you say you have healed your relationship with money?
Very much so. Very, 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 very much so. Um, Understanding of what tool it is for goodness and greatness in the world and the levels of freedom that are open to me to help others with an influx of money. I am set and determined to have our company, You to Shine, to become the first $1 trillion spiritual company to educate the world that there is not one child left behind and educated all the way through the university. Will it be in my lifetime? I don't know. But that is the intention of loving working with money to the degree of freeing humanity to not be dependent on it. That is really a vision. So
Mm. So, where we talked about the birth pangs, where do you see us going in the, let's say, the next 5 years? I think I mean, 2025 was crazy, but 2026 will outshine it
well, let's
in
use our
every
birth.
way.
Let's use the birth. I do believe that 2026 is when light is claimed, born, and expanding. But remember, baby needs to wear diapers for quite a while. So I think get ready for the diaper stage while we're crawling and hopefully walking by the end of 2026. There'll be a lot, I'm sorry for the word shit, to clean up. And so that's my best analogy of staying where we are. But just remember, the baby doesn't know how to go potty. That doesn't mean it's not learning how to walk. And so we're going to be learning how to be walking, and if it's helpful, remember there is no growth without fertilizer. So there'll be a lot of fertilizer. I think 2026 is the year of fertilizer, of where we see a lot of things decaying, rotting, falling apart, so that they are transformed. Energy is that they're transformed and transliterated into the new growth. I also think that more than ever, what you focus on expands will be there for 2026. So I would say focus on hope. It is a year for hope as an active movement. Focus on hope, and anything that dissuades you from that, focus on hope. It's number one in the numerology. We're finishing finish number nine, the completion of cycle. It is a number one. It is the beginning. So one always brings hope. So there'll be hopeful breakthroughs for all of us if we choose to notice them. So, and for governments actually also breaking apart for our hope to break through.
Yeah. It has already begun last year. I mean, Nepal overthrew its government in less than 48 hours. Madagascar followed. And there were other attempts in December in Benin, but then Nigeria decided to bomb Benin. There was a military coup. And yeah, now everything is but okay, the military coup didn't happen, but now there is a legal coup. There are a lot of things being, developed in terms of voting and with journalism. And that is what I mean, this attempt to cling to the
Yeah.
old ways in any way possible. I mean, also that will fall apart, but for the moment, it is what it is.
It is what it is, but you cannot suppress erupting volcano. I mean, you can try, many have. It is inevitable. I think the source for hope is the inevitability of eruption of enlightenment and awareness. It is happening. It is just happening because the dominant frequency of humanity is shifting. And because light is becoming brighter and brighter, what are we going to see in a dark room when there's more light? Every speck of darkness. So, of course, it's not that we're going to see more of it because there is more of it. The light is brighter, so we see more of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To me, up to now, 2026 feels like a year of clarification,
Hmm.
where a lot of dirt that was kept under the rug comes to the surface,
Yeah.
and where probably also battle lines are drawn. Yeah. Where also people will probably say, no, mm, not like this, not anymore. And it will be interesting. I mean, it's just the first month, but the tone has already been set for 2026. And yes, it is a 1 year, and then we have still Pluto in Aquarius. The last time that happened, and it will stay there for 20 years. And the last time that happened, we had the American and the French Revolution. And yes, the French Revolution especially was badly hijacked.
Mm.
And that is why you always, that is Once you have overthrown them, that is the moment when you have to be extra vigilant because that vacuum that is there for a short moment can be hijacked by people that absolutely do not have your best interests at heart. No?
Yeah, I think that we probably, in terms of the dominant frequency, dominant desire, have never been this close as a globe. I think that is probably the difference. Because we're so globalized and aware, the overall awareness is also becoming more and more aligned. Where over the centuries they were localized events. Quantum field is one field. We're learning that more and more. And even though maybe those were subconsciously united and aware, now going back to the conscious needs to see, we're consciously seeing that. And I think that's the difference between that level of awareness is a difference between what was and what is happening. I think I have not been this hopeful in a very long time, despite all the dirt flying. I'm so hopeful.
Yeah. Yeah, and you are right. I mean, people are taking it now in their own hands, being the media. Yeah. And, a couple of decades ago, people didn't know very much about what is going on in Asia or in Africa. And you were depending on what the newspaper wrote, or maybe somebody wrote a book or whatever it was. But these days, with the internet, and also in these countries, they have their shows. Some of them do them in English, so you can follow as well. Basically within minutes what happened at the other end of the world. Yeah.
And that conscious awareness is the key determiner of the change I think that is going to happen. So it's
Yeah.
happening, not going to happen. It's happening. We're midway through it. We really are. So.
So when if somebody is interested, they can simply book a
So
session with
someone,
you.
if someone is interested, I would say going to You2 Shine, which is our website, YU number two shine.com, and then looking at what is aligned. There are different, I call them paths of freedom. So looking at what is aligned, there is a free offer. It's also mygiftoffer.com if you want to go straight there, or it's on You2 Shine where there are 50 breakthrough beliefs that we've helped hundreds of people off, thousands really, and those are free. It's a free download. And so there's so many different offers. One of the one that is growing right now is the Quantum Freedom one. It's by invitation group. You can't buy it online, but you can book a time to learn about it. Subscription group that in 2019 I was guided to take some of my seminars online, is starting them in January 2020. And then in 2 months, the world started shutting down for COVID and we were completely transitioned. And I was guided, the name of the subscription was called Quantum Freedom. And so that's for people that are mindful entrepreneurs or people that are light seekers that want to learn the principles of quantum field and how to create the new fulfilling reality while in practical ways. Like I'm incredibly pragmatic and practical. I find that there's so many spiritual concepts that are so detached that we lose people because they're in their bubbles, in their rooms, on their pillows. And I'm like, we need your feet on the ground. And so quantum freedom is taking very high concepts, simplifying them, and then practically, pragmatically implementing them every day. So that's probably an incredible introduction to our work as well. But everything on the site, you2shine.com.
Okay. So, fantastic conversation, Victoria. You have to come back, definitely. Let's, in a couple of months, when we see how 2026 develops, I would love to have you back on the
Do
show.
it.
And
Let's do it for a pulse. We will do like a pulse check.
yeah, exactly.
Well, thank you so much, Judy. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, okay. And yeah, I wish you all the best. And let's do it. And in 2026, we will start.
Love it.
Okay, guys, that was it. Night flight for today. And we see you on the next one.